Next up, we're going to be joined by Ian, who's from Oldham Community Radio. Ian is going to share a little bit about the Community Radio Environment Network and the collaborations between stations around our Earth Week.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Oh, there you are. It's better, isn't it? The good news is that what it says is half an hour dedicated to this next little section. It ain't going to be that long. So, Alex, who's up next, be ready. I expect you to be like a coiled spring. I feel a bit of a fraud. Sorry, I'm not introducing myself. Ian Wolstenholme from Oldham Community Radio. I feel a little bit of a fraud, to be honest, because Penny Southgate, who is the founder of the Community Radio Environment Network, should be standing here this morning. She's unavailable, and she, about a week or so ago, just said, Ian, can you help us out? Which is always one of those plea, for to come to the rescue. So I put together something rather quickly. You could tell I got notes and phones and microphones and a thicky thing, which should do that. Penny asked me to talk about this initiative called Our Earth Week this year, which will be happening, I'll tell you in a moment or two. Well, let me, in Penny's absence, just tell you a little bit about her, because that would be only fair. So Penny Southgate, the founder of the Community Radio Environment Network, she's worked as a producer and a presenter at BCFM Radio in Bristol for more than 10 years. She's been a climate activist since the IPCC declared a global emergency back in 2018. She created the award-winning environment show One Love, One Planet on BCFM and the annual UK-wide community radio event Our Earth Week, which has also been nominated for various awards. She's obviously very passionate about anything to do with the environment. And I suppose indirectly everybody in the room will probably be affected by this in one way or the other. Indeed, coming across to Bradford today, we noticed that our reservoir was pretty low, and near the north, as you can probably tell by my accent, we do have quite a lot of rain or wet weather. But even so, notwithstanding the reservoir itself was low.
I just pressed something there. Stop there. There we go. So, Our Earth Week. It's arranged by CRN, which is the Community Radio Environment Network. The overall theme of CRN is connect, inspire, and act. Those words are sort of music to the ears of anybody who's interested in environmental issues in whatever form that would take. This year, Our Earth Week, now in its third year, I think, takes place from the 10th to the 16th of November, so just around the corner, really. And I'll talk a little bit about what it means to community radio. An obvious question, what is it? Well, it's arranged by UK community stations to raise awareness, first and foremost, of anything to do with the environment. As a kind of a user of it, I tend to think that it's very, very much a very handy way of filling some of those program schedules that might ordinarily be just filled with music. Our friend, the Welsh, which station was it again? Newport, the biggest music station on the planet, he likes to think, is may well be wall-to-wall music. I don't know because I've not listened to it, but here is an opportunity to fill some of those times in the program week with something connected with Our Earth Week. It aligns usually, the dates tend to align with the COP climate processes and what have you, and therefore in its broadest sense, it sort of connects anything to do with local issues with global issues. And I'll mention that in a moment. Well, why get involved in it in the first place? Well, I suppose
Climate, environment, as we said, is a very, very big issue. It's something that people are either passionate about or just sit on the fringes and, do you know what? It might affect me, it might not. This morning in the exhibition there, I had a cup of coffee, took one of the paper cups, filled it with a nice cup of coffee, drank it, and I was just about to pop that in the bin and suddenly thought, hang on, let's reuse that. And so I kept hold of the cup and filled it up again. And it just kind of was almost a second nature. And that was purely prompted by the fact that Henry asked me to be the spokesperson for our Earth Week at this particular event. So awareness and action, which I'll come on to in a second, but crucially, I suspect that it helps to drive information and, yes, entertainment across the various community radio stations. Every year there's a different theme. This year's theme is all about water. And so water in its broadest sense. For once, we hope that water won't be a dry subject on radio. That's no pun intended, really. You can look at things, obviously, in your own immediate area, whether that's, like I mentioned, the reservoir, for example. Oh, why is it low? Well, let's find out about that. Let's get a spokesperson from United Utilities to come on and talk to us about the reason for that. Or why is my stream dried up? Or why are, I don't know, lots of whys, who's, what, thens, and so on and so forth. There are some suggested topics, of course. The usual suspects rear their heads. Flooding, of course, obviously in some areas is a greater problem than in others. Pollution, which is a big one, and we'll mention that in a few seconds' time. How it impacts on projects. If for some reason there was a deluge of rain or the local river burst its banks, would that affect Gary's plans for Ashtang Radio's events? Who knows? There are all sorts of things. So our Earth Week has a whole range of resources. There's a very nice digital handbook. There's pre-prepared audio content and obviously materials for use on air and across social channels as well. The timeline. So it starts on the 10th of November, runs to the weeks on the 16th. Starts at a very unusual time, 8:15. I meant to ask Penny why 8:15 in particular. There must be a reason, but anyway, that's the official launch. And obviously what you can do leading up to that is, the idea of this is to give you some food for thought, how planning your preparation. What do you do during the initiative? Well, that's self-explanatory there. It is a very useful way, I guess, of engaging with your listeners. I mentioned that in a second or two as well. And afterwards, well, the event this year, just as much as previous years, will help to build up a library of resources ready for the same time next year. And even though the theme will be different, 12 will stand alone, there will still be references that are very useful within that kind of resource library. That's the big question, isn't it? Why we're all here, I suppose. If you want to get involved, how can you? Well, just register, very easy. I'll give you the details. If you've got your phones and pens and bits and paper, get those out because there'll be a contact in a moment or two. You can use the already available resources. You could actually run our Earth Week on your radio station on the 10th of November without batting an eyelid, without doing anything. There's no cost. There's no real commitment per se in terms of time or effort because there's a whole range of information already at the drop of a hat. What is very interesting, I suppose, is this. Part of that library of resources, if you will, is an opportunity to ask questions, to ask guests to come in, to engage with the local community. Youth participation is really important. If you, for example, I don't know, if you've got a primary school nearby, and you could stand outside with your phone at chucking out time, as we like to say, at the school day is. And for example, as mums and dads and grannies and carers come down the street with their little ones in tow, after a hard day's work in the classroom, you could just stand there on the street. It might be advisable to have a word with the teacher or the head teacher just to make sure that you don't get carted away by the local police officer, but, within reason. And say, tell me, your mum, because they're all down there compared to the tell the young man or young lady, what do you know about water? And kids will spout it out, the water analogy. And so you've got little vox pops from the future generation, if you like, who will be really and regularly aware and informed in the classroom and outside the classroom about environmental affairs. You'll know from your own children or grandchildren or whoever that you got to be on your toes with this. So opportunities with local groups, for saying we can get the local mayor in, we can do whatever we like to talk about your immediate environment. But if you don't want to do that, there's pre-formatted, pre-prepared resources with things like interviews. Oh, I'll give you an idea. Whitney, upper screen. If this works, it's like, do that. There's a Google Drive. There's a Google. Hello? Hello, testing, test. I can shout. I don't need a microphone. God on a stick, that's me. So there's a Google Drive available, okay, which I shall find it out that Henny very kindly sent me. It was here. If you were Phil, thank you. So let's see who's lined up in the bank. Phil's our technical guy from Old Community Radio. Can we have a big round of applause? One of the volunteers from the Community Radio in Iowa was at the Blue Earth Summit recently and managed to have a word with this person, I think.
Chris Packham here. I want to talk to you about our Earth Week. It is our Earth. It's the only Earth that we've got. It's a tiny, beautiful, little blue planet.
I won't bore you with it because it goes on and on for 3.5 minutes. But anyway. So, if it's the technical guy, it'll flood to do. So, you can tell on the depth, can't you? You can tell it. So, things like that. So, Chris Packham and other less famous people are all voices and pre-recorded interviews and messages and things like that in a little library. There's a question of the day, so whatever that question of the day might be, from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the way through the week and our Earth Week, you could just simply drop that into your program and create a bit of dialogue. You can obviously get your volunteers. If you feel, if it's interesting, you really the question to Gary about how your volunteers feel about engaging with some of these big projects. Some of our volunteers own community radio, for example. They feel underused. Not necessarily undervalued, I hope that would never be the case, but certainly underused, particularly if they're non-broadcasters. So you can send them out with their phones and you can get them to do little bits of recording on the streets or whatever. They feel confident to do that. And then they feel included and they can hear their work on air without necessarily having to worry about actually being a presenter or a broadcaster. We've talked about getting the kids involved. This is an interesting one. Look at the headline. Lee Durrant does number twos, not literally. However, Lee is a radio presenter in the Lake District, on Lake District Radio. And as part of our Earth Week, he's taken it on himself to do a message of a 24-hour live broadcast all about sewage pollution. Given where he is in the lakes, that is a big issue. So he's decided
that he's going to call this Unexpected Number Twos. And there you go. He's going to be playing for 24 hours. Songs that got as far as number 2 in the charts. Method in the Madness. Came up with this cunning second headline. No payment required. Because what I would like you to do now, audience participation time. Lee, in advance of this, will probably feel, and I know I've done the 24-hour thing, not in radio, but it's something else way back in the 1880s, and you can feel a little bit kind of, what am I doing this for? Am I on my own? Where's the support? And apart from people coming in and offering tea and sympathy, you're kind of on your own. This, however, is an opportunity. What I want you to do now is that number there, 077 773 035 842. Put it in your phone, take a picture of it, do it later if you want, or the email address, and just send Lee a note, a voice note, to say, hey, Lee, brilliant, what you doing, fantastic. Go on, Lee. Give it some whatever. And I'm sure that he would be really, really encouraged and grateful and not feel like a fish out of water. Absolutely. So have you taken the picture? Yeah, good, right. Have you done it? Good, excellent. Right. Our the week's past achievements. This is the 3rd year. Lots of press coverage. It's been nominated for Arias in the past. And of course, because it's a community radio initiative, a strong engagement, hopefully, with the whole community radio network. Impacts and benefits, I'll rattle through those. Rattle through those. Raise awareness, strengthen collaboration, empowering listeners, and enhancing creative radio programming. I like that bit. That's the bit, the cheaty bit. Gives you an opportunity to fill your airwaves with something a little bit different for a week. What you could do, this is the important bit, you could register your station if you haven't already. At the email address there, crenuk1@gmail.com. You can start to plan, because once you've registered, you'll have access to the Google Drive with all the information in, and you can think, oh, that might just fit in there, that might fit in that program, that might do whatever. And, of course, promote it the usual way on socials and on air and things like that. That's the website. There's an interesting little film that's, I think it should work. There's a little film that Penny and her team have produced to kind of promote this year's event.
Our Earth Week.
Hi, dear Wolstenholme from Older Community Radio.
I'm Carrie Tallard from Suffolk Sound. Heidi Southgate from BCFM Radio. And Nervets one for Yalat, UKCRN. This year, we've also got sessions from abroad taking part as well, which is brilliant.
My name is Petru Wabo. I am Director of Cunning Article.
And this November, we're all going to be taking part in our Earth Week.
Shining a spotlight on the climate crisis and celebrating nature.
It's about water. We'll all be talking about the same kind of subjects.
Because all the stations are so different, we all have different circumstances, we're all going to be doing it in our own way.
We have from Amy Thompson from COP29 during the first day yesterday. Industry Sound as well, which is loads of fun yesterday.
Net zero. You've probably been hearing the term net zero being thrown around in the media and by politicians. Some people seem to think it's a really good goal to have for countries, others not so much. So let's see what it means and make our own mind about it.
Can you think of 5 things we could do at home to protect the wildlife? 5 things that I chose is to keep the environment safe.
We started our Earth Week by including 2 eco-thoughts for the day.
We'll be giving our listeners lots of advice on how to save water, inviting guests to talk about water quality and quantity in our area.
Water condition is a problem because majority of local community use to fetch water from the lake. And the kind of water are not good to use, which expose them to different entities.
We'll be sending messages to Leader on Lake District Radio, who's doing a live 24-hour show about sewage pollution.
Our Earth Week is fun, it's interesting, and it's important.
If you're worried that this isn't your thing, you just do a music show, you're not an expert, then please don't worry about this. None of us are experts. If you're a music show, you can just play song on the theme. You could just ask yourself a question of the day and have a little chat about that. Or you could look in the handbook. There are lots of conversation starters, and there are lots of facts and figures that you could just drop in as well if you wanted to.
This sick boxing or read in the web unless all make fake.
So there you go. That's it. That's the email address again. And really, it is a case with our Earth Week, you can do as little or as much as you want. Fill the bath a little bit or a little bit. Thank you very much.
So, do we have any questions for you? Yeah? We're out of it.
If I can answer it, I will. Where's Eddie when you need us?
Thank you so much for that. That was super interesting. And Chaos Radio, we have signed up and we are taking part in it. So we're really looking forward to that. My question was, obviously you're part of the Community Radio Environment Network. And just to ask you a question on that, are you always looking for stations to be part of that or to work with you in that network as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Penny would undoubtedly be the best person to speak to, so the email there would certainly work. A quick message too. But yes, the more stations that really participate, the better. There was a little grab shot in that little film there that showed you the number that had taken part this year. Again, I come back to the original point. I feel a real cheat here because Oldham Community Radio will be one of those stations. Yes, we've done it over the last couple of years, but we dabbled. You know, we've not kind of gone in with the whole kit and caboodle. We've certainly used the pre-template, pre-formatted materials. I will continue to do that this year. But as again, you can do as little as or as much as you wish.
Okay, clearly, the more people there. Any other questions?
Thanks, Ian. Thanks. I really positive that was. I want to talk back a bit more about the Dash Week itself. It's very good you got youth participation element to it as well, and you get some people to raise questions. But do you see it as an opportunity to do twofold? Raise awareness in a general perspective, but also do you see it as an opportunity to sort of hold organisations to account, ask the question what they're doing more for the environment? For example, councils or environment agencies, organisations like that. Is it a sort of approach you do for the week in that sort of respect, is it?
Yes, is the answer to that. Lee, certainly during his broadcast, and obviously that they'll have a limited reach. Community radio in his area in the Lake District will certainly resign with that community environment. But beyond that, every station that wishes to take part, I need a drip of water. No, I don't. Got to save it. Every station that wants to take part in a library of resources will be little pointers, little cues how you could contact your own local authorities. So, for example, we're going to get there's been in the news, was it yesterday, where water companies are being forced to make rebates at some of their customers, depending which water authority you come under. So we'll talk about that. But even on a sort of macro, hyper-local level, it will be a real case that you have a water source in your area, whatever it might be. It might be a leaky tap. How much water is lost with a leaky tap? Or something similar like that. You can pluck all these ideas out the air. Or a stream that once was gushing one. Why is it just a trickle? So, obviously, lots of opportunities to get those change makers who can make a difference, or at least who are accountable and can give you some evidence-based answers. That's the key to it. It's not, and Penny would correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole premise of our Earth Week is not to force environmental messages down the ears of your listeners on your respective stations. It's just to be there as a, let's be aware of that. Let's make people just stuff and think about the field this year. What?
Just a question, Elliot, that I thought it was really interesting. Are you marketing the event as well of the media, kind of use content, so promote stations, and also get them to hold to account as well, the companies that had these?
It's a good question. There's a fine line, isn't there, as I've said, really, between being too overzealous and turning people off to the messages, or keeping it in your station and doing your bit in the hope that there'll be lots more stations off the back of this little chat today that might just think, I'll sign up for that, and let's create this ever-growing network. And that way, it will possibly even be picked up by your own local news outlets. It's very often the case, for example, in Oldham, where we have a very active online sort of senior former news editor of a national daily who picks up these stories and who then channels them around his own network. Similarly with online local newspapers, and sometimes it's not being unknown that people like, your own BBC people channel to pick it up as well. And so it sometimes a small acorn could grow into a little glass of water can turn into a long.
Good once again, the police were Ian, and is there Vix on street, you will sign up. I'm sure he'd be around today as well for you to have a chat with him.